Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 10th episode of Unleashed. It's been a great adventure so far, helping uncover the truth about so many difficult and complex issues. We've got a lot more to tackle. I'm excited about this week's episode. It celebrates our children and, of course, summer break. I have 3 little ones that are just out of school as of last weekend. It's great fun, but also such a challenge to make sure that their time is well spent and making memories and growing and having fun. So much to do over the summer. Last summer, I brought the kids with me on the campaign trail for the governor's race as much as I could. We had a blast traveling all over the state, but it was intense. This summer, my main focus is them. So I decided to challenge our family, really to challenge myself, to be intentional about the next 3 months. I thought it might be fun if we do this together. If you're a parent, a grandparent, a caregiver, a friend of some little kids, or if you just want to pass this on to a family you know, let's see if we can't make the summer of 2023 the best ever. It's been a rough few years, and we deserve bright things this summer. I'm excited. I'm calling it the Colorado Kids Unleashed Summer Challenge. I'll talk about it today, and if you'd like to join in, we have a fun tracker that you can print out and use with your family or give to your friends to use. We'll do this together for the 3 months of summer, and every Sunday we'll do a special post on all the social media platforms and invite you to post comments to share what's working, what's not, what's driving you crazy, what's really fun. And we'll have some fun building community around the challenge. What parents and families don't need community right now? And in mid-August, we'll have a fun family celebration at a local park with food, games, and lots of great activities. Virtual for those of you who are out of the area, so don't worry, you won't be left out, and live for those of you that live close. So, here's the Unleashed Challenge. We'll focus on 4 things together. Number 1, we'll wean from the screens. Number 2, let's fuel up and get physical. Number 3, stay far away from substances. And number 4, find time to jump for joy and be happy. So let's dig in and talk details. And we're going to keep it simple. It's up to you and your family to unleash your creativity and make this plan your own, but we're going to give you a good starting point. So let's start with number 1, weaning from the screens. Oh my goodness, this is hard. Do all you can to implement a 2-hour screen limit a day. 2 hours a day. Amid what he called the worst youth mental health crisis in recent memory, the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy issued an advisory this week warning about social media's impact on developing young brains. Children that spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face twice the risk of having depression and anxiety. The advisory also suggests that parents develop a family media plan about healthy technology boundaries at home, such as creating tech-free zones that restrict phone use during certain hours or family mealtime. Limiting your kids' screen time is one of the most important things we can do this summer. It will improve their well-being, development, and moods. I promise. There are benefits to even limiting screens to 2 hours a day, and if you can do less, even better. But the average 8 to 18-year-old is on their screens 6 to 9 hours a day right now. So 2 hours is a great goal. It's going to be hard, but it's a great goal. We can do this. Here are a few ideas to help on this front, and we'll have a guest to help as well. Have a family meeting to talk about the 2-hour limit and discuss strategies for how to support each other, how to have fun with it, how to create rewards and challenges, and explain that it's going to be really hard, but do it with your kids. Set the example. You can join in as well. Next, try making an electronic checklist of things that must be done before screens can be used, like making your bed, feeding the dog, read 30 minutes a day. Have your kids earn screen time by doing non-screen activities. Next, plan family time that is screen-free, like a no-screen zone at the dinner table or a board game hour each night, or create a 7-day family time challenge. You may even try and go a few days without any screens. That's going to be tough. And then finally, get some help setting up the limits on their devices. Go to the Genius Bar or ask a tech-savvy parent to help. After many hours of trying to figure all this out, the Genius Bar told me the easiest way is to shut your Wi-Fi on or off. And you can do that if you have Xfinity. You can download the app and do it directly. Or you can use the downtime toggle in the screen time area on the phones. Just shut it universally on or off. And don't try and dink around with all the different apps. Again, this is the most important thing you can do this summer. It has an incredible impact on their physical health, their social development, their mental and emotional well-being, their academic performance, cognitive development, and finally, it can give them more restful sleep, which is critical to developing brains. Colorado has a very high suicide rate for kids. You've heard me talk about it. One of the highest drug addiction rates for our children, too. And we had Children's Hospital declare the first ever mental health crisis in Colorado not too long ago. 60% of our students here cannot read, write, or do math at grade level. Our kids are being mentally poisoned by screens, and we need to act in a big, bold way to turn things around for them. We need to stay tough, be strong, and set strong boundaries. The second goal out of 4, let's fuel up and get physical. Get their heart pumping 1 hour a day and fill them with healthy food and drinks whenever possible. Childhood obesity is a serious problem in the United States, putting kids and teens at big risk for poor health, and it's a growing problem. It's getting worse. About 20% or 15 million children and adolescents are obese, and it's skyrocketing. And it's especially affecting kids of color. 26% of Hispanic children are obese, 25% of Black children are obese. Obesity causes high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, breathing problems such as asthma and sleep apnea, and joint problems, not to mention bullying and low self-esteem. Doctors recommend 6 to 18-year-olds get 60 minutes or more each day of vigorous activity. Short bursts of time added together rather than sustained periods of time, that can work. It can add up to meet the physical activity needs. Make it a habit, like an evening bike ride, Saturday family pickleball, or hikes, walking the dogs, as you just heard, or go on a jog together. Plan some 3 or 5Ks to do as a family. There are several every weekend throughout the summer in Colorado. You could also play outside games with your kids. It's lots of fun and a great way to get some exercise and create family memories. Set a day or time for the neighborhood kids to get together and teach them some old school games to play. There's good old freeze tag or TV or serial tag. When you're tagged in the TV tag, you must name a TV show to be released. You could do that with apps now. Serial tag apparently works the same way. There's kickball, dodgeball again, capture the flag, kick the can, foursquare, frisbee, water balloon toss. There's so many things to do for fun. So to fuel their bodies, it's more challenging in the summer when we are all on the go. Sometimes it doesn't work to eat scheduled meals like it does while they're in school. So mix it up, have fun, and be creative. Keep it simple and fresh. Try to provide fresh foods to your children whenever you can. Fresh fruits and vegetables make for great breakfast and snacks for your kids throughout the day and night. Take your kids to a farmer's market or a farm or order fresh online and let them pick things out. Avoid sugary drinks. That's super important. If you do nothing else around food, this one is critical. No more than 1 sugary drink a day, and that includes juice, pop, smoothies, most Starbucks drinks. Also, when kids drink sugary beverages, they get dehydrated more easily. Challenge them to drink water throughout the day. Let them pick out some hip and cool water bottles or put some stickers on an older one that they can use. Stanleys are like the cool accessory right now. Let them cook with you or cook for you. There are some very fun cooking kits you can buy or join their clubs like Radish, or just have their kiddos plan their meals out. Have your kiddos plan their meals out. And snacks too. And do shopping online with Instacart or something similar if you don't have time to take them to the store. Keep a snack drawer in the fridge and one in the cabinet that's filled with awesome choices that they can just grab and go. And make a list with them of restaurants that have good choices and what menu items they can choose from so that you keep it healthy and you're not arguing in the drive-thru over what they can have. Maybe not a cauliflower sandwich at Chick-fil-A. I don't know if that's going to fly, but you get the gist. 3 out of 4. Number 3, stay away from substances. This is for our older kids. Encourage a sober summer. Now that your kids are out of school, can you keep them out of trouble? Well, especially if they're in the teen years, it's hard. There are lots of things that you can do to help them stay safe and enjoy an alcohol and drug-free summer. In Colorado, it's especially critical since many drugs are legal and it's easy to access. Maybe not for kids, but they can get them. Up to 57% of Colorado teens have used some form of illegal drug by the 12th grade, with up to 7% having used an illegal drug before age 13. We have one of the highest rates of drug addiction for kids in the nation. It's a big deal here. Colorado's drug overdose rate in 2021 was higher than any developed country's was in 2019. following an uptick in drug deaths beginning in 2020 here. So what do we do? What do we do as parents? Well, talk to them about drugs and alcohol. Don't assume that your children have gotten the message about staying away from drugs at school, in the media, or elsewhere. Deliver it one-on-one and express your concerns. Use examples of how things can go bad, stories of friends that you know. Keep it relaxed and conversational. Make it clear it's not okay to go to unsupervised parties. Make sure that there will be responsible adults present at any parties that your kids might be going to. Know who they're with and what they're doing as much as you can. I know that's hard, especially with the older kids. Take time to ask questions and keep tabs on their schedules and social plans, and get to know their friends and their friends' families. Acknowledge and reward them. While you can focus on the things that your kids should not be doing, you should also pay attention to the good things that they do. By doing so, you can help to build up your child's self-esteem and confidence, leading to a better outlook and overall level of happiness. If your child feels really loved and has a stable home life, there will be fewer reasons or excuses to use drugs. And then keep them busy. If your child has a summer job or a volunteer position, you can not only rest assured knowing that he or she will be busy and most likely supervised for most of the week, but you can also take stock in the fact that working and earning a paycheck, or kudos if they're volunteering, can make an enormous difference in helping your team to grow up. The responsibility of holding down a job can be a great deterrent to drug use. And by keeping a packed schedule with fun and engaging activities, you can lower the opportunity to get involved with drugs. Next, watch for signs. Kids sometimes try to hide substance abuse or make it difficult for parents to know what's going on. Watch for these signs. Changes in behavior that are hard to understand, that aren't like them. Sneaking out at night. Difficulty sleeping. Changes in peer groups. Not going to work or not showing up for their volunteer position or a friend date. Not doing the things that they used to do. Trust your gut as a parent. If you think something's wrong, it probably is. And learn about the different popular ways to do drugs like vaping, shatter, butter, Molly, Xanax, and Adderall, and how they do them, whether it's gummies, pens, or smoking. And the problem with modern day potency of pot, you got to learn about that. Adolescents who use cannabis are 2 to 4 times more likely to experience adverse psychological events, including depression, suicidality, lower GPA, fighting, aggression, and arrest. 1 in 20 that uses teens, even if they stop, are prone to schizophrenia. Even nicotine can cause pounding in the ears, blurred vision, lung damage, and mouth sores, especially when kids are smoking nicotine vapes. Donnie's Ambassadors has a great website to learn about all of this. We'll link it, but it's a great start. And finally, set a good example. This is the most important thing you can do to keep your teens from using drugs. Same with the screens. Don't underestimate the fact that the things that you say and do have on shaping your children's opinions and attitudes towards life. Be upbeat and driven. Be compassionate and caring. And don't use drugs. And our final one, find time to jump for joy and be happy. Let's go big on the power of Colorado experiences in our families' lives. Life is really hard right now for us and our kids. It's been that way for a few years. Give your children every opportunity this summer to find joy, to play, to make friends, and to laugh. Adventure awaits in our beautiful state, all over. Here are some ideas to help your teens find joy, fun, and play this summer. First of all, encourage outdoor activities like hiking, camping, or simply exploring nature's wonders to develop a deeper connection with their surroundings and just experience the simple pleasures of life. Next, nurture your teens' creative spirit by encouraging them to explore various art forms such as painting, writing, photography, or music. Provide them with the tools and resources to express themselves and let their imagination run wild. Whether it's creating a visual masterpiece, creating a story, making a documentary, composing melodies, the act of creation brings immense joy and fulfillment. Next, cultivate curiosity through learning. Summer presents a fantastic opportunity for your teens to explore new interests and expand their knowledge. Help them discover captivating subjects or hobbies that intrigue them. Whether it's learning a musical instrument, exploring the world of coding, or delving into historical events, encouraging their curiosity fosters a love for lifelong learning and sparks joy in the process. Next, foster social connections. Socializing is a vital aspect of a teenager's life. And summer provides ample time for them to connect with friends, both old and new, and family members. Encourage them to organize get-togethers, plan outings, or participate in community events. Engaging in social activities not only builds lasting friendships, but it also creates cherished memories and moments of laughter. Next, emphasize the importance of play. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to forget that teenagers and our younger kids forget the importance of play. Encourage them to embrace their inner child by engaging in playful activities such as sports, board games, or even building forts. Playtime fosters creativity, problem-solving skills, and the ability to find joy in the simplest of moments. Next, embrace spontaneity and adventure. Summer is the perfect time for your teens to step outside their comfort zones and embark on exciting adventures. Encourage them to try new experiences such as rock climbing, hiking, learning a new language, or even travel if possible. These adventures create lifelong memories, build resilience, and instill a sense of courage and exploration. Remember, as parents, you play a crucial role in facilitating an environment where joy, fun, and play can thrive. By providing them with the space and support to explore, you'll witness their spirits soar and witness the magic of summer unfold. And finally, encourage your children to volunteer. When kids give back, it changes their lives. They can experience the joy of lending a helping hand to those in need while developing empathy, leadership, and teamwork skills. Whether it's caring for animals, supporting local causes, or assisting in community projects, their efforts can create a positive impact and inspire other kids to do the same. I did a TED Talk about this very subject, the art of the comeback, as it related to my daughter's struggles in high school back in 2015. Check it out here.
So, I lost my husband. I lost $1 million. I almost lost Camp Bow Wow in 2008. I dealt with infertility. I dealt with a business that failed before the one that worked. And then a tough divorce and custody battle. So at least once a week, somebody says to me, either A, that my life is like a TV movie, made for TV movie, or B, how did you come back from all of that? How did you come back and end up so happy? Well, honestly, you guys, I didn't know the answer to that question. I really didn't. Until the art of the comeback kind of came to me in an unlikely place, my pediatrician's office. I sat and talked to Dr. Bucknam about Tori's high school friends and how lost and sad they were. And he told me that in all of his years as a doctor, his piece of advice for parents that had kids that were lost or acting out was simply to turn them outward, to focus them on the idea that they were part of something much bigger than themselves. He wanted them to give back. To come back, they should give back. Well, I thought about it and I thought, geez, that's exactly what I've done my whole life. That's the theme in my life stories. Every time I had adversity, I would turn around and focus on something else or someone else.
So, that's the Colorado Kids Unleashed Summer Challenge. Again, we have a fun tracker that you can print out and use with your family. We'll do this together for the 3 months of summer, and every Sunday we'll do a special post on all the social media platforms and invite you to post comments to share what's working, what's not, and have some fun building community around the challenge. And in mid-August, we'll have a fun family get-together at a local park with food, games, and activities, virtual for those of you who are out of the area and live for those who are close. So to recap our summer challenge, our Unleashed Summer Challenge, number 1, we'll do all we can to wean from screens. Number 2, let's fuel up and get physical. Number 3, stay far away from those substances. And number 4, find time to jump for joy and be happy. Let's have some fun together and make this summer of 2023 amazing for our kids and for us as parents. To help us with the toughest of the 4 challenges, I think anyway, I invited a friend of mine to join us, Rob Krecak. Rob is an incredible entrepreneur, the founder of Humans First, and someone who understands the incredible challenges and gifts that technology provides us as parents and humans. Welcome, Rob. It's so good to see you and catch up a little bit before the podcast. Rob, you are doing such important work. It's such a critical topic of discussion for parents, grandparents, for society overall. How did you get into this segment of just being an advocate against the technology, but for the technology? Because I think you're both.
Yeah. Well, it's super great to see you, Heidi. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity to chat with you today. And the topic that I always talk about is technology mindfulness. And I just want to be clear that I'm not saying I'm against technology, but what I kind of talk to people about is I feel like some of us are sort of out of balance with technology, right? We might be using it maybe a little bit too much. And so the message isn't technology is bad, let's get rid of it. It's, hey, let's find better balance in our lives and that balance is different for each person. So my balance might be better or excuse me, might be different than yours. But this came about because when I was in high school, I was addicted to video games. And this was a result of me having really bad acne. And I had very low self-esteem and self-worth. And so I became addicted to video games because it was actually a coping mechanism for me and having this bad self-worth or low self-esteem. And so, I saw very early on in life how technology might not have been the best for me in that way. And it, interfered with my schoolwork and other things. And then at other points in my life, I've been, I'll say, addicted to Facebook and then addicted to my email as well. And so, this is a very personal topic for me. And I've seen the negative repercussions of technology for myself. And so I want to try to avoid having other people go through what I went through and educate them about this so that they can, lead a better life.
Yeah, that's so true. My goodness. I feel like we spend most of our days trying to figure out how to balance technology in our life. I just did a seminar with Tony Robbins actually over the weekend, over Zoom, of course, not live. And they had a lot of discussion about AI and the new emerging technologies and how that's going to completely transform our workforce and our life overall. And most of us parents can't even figure out how to use Snapchat or TikTok or how to keep our kids off the screens right now. How on earth are we going to keep up and deal with the acceleration of technology as we try and raise our family?
Yeah, I mean, I think why technology mindfulness is so important. Technology isn't ever going away, and the rate of change is only going to accelerate. It's only going to get faster. And so that's why I really believe that all people need to be educated about this, because even if it's not important for you and your family, there's other people and kids and other families that you're interacting with, and they're experiencing it as well. So even if your kids, for instance, don't use technology a ton, I guarantee you that their friends in some capacity are using technology a lot. And so you just need to be aware of that and, what the impact is on your family. And so there is no easy answer to your question because things are changing so quickly. We just really need to be mindful and know that we need to be aware of what's changing and how it could affect us. And that's going to take some effort and time, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. And that's what other people in this industry are here for.
Rob, tell me from a parent's perspective, how I should approach it. So I wake up, my kids are already on their screens. They're trying to, sneak their iPad or, laying in bed, kind of putting under the covers. And I'm like, all right, everybody, off the screens, down to breakfast. And then before you know it, they sneak back upstairs. I mean, it's a constant battle. What is the best way to strategize to stay ahead of this stuff for the summer, at least?
Yeah, so a couple of different things related to that. So first of all, one statistic is that over 50% of parents fight with their children daily about technology use, over half. So if you're experiencing this, don't feel like you're alone. You're not alone. This is literally happening all over the place. But I believe that one of the main things that I don't want to say is a problem, but is a solution to this is that there's no set of defined family values. And here's what that means to me. And here's how, if you have a set of family values, it will totally change the conversation about technology. So for instance, my wife and I are expecting our first kid in September. And I was pressing her to come up with our set of family values because it's really important to me. And so, one of the family values is family is the fabric of our lives. And to me, or to us, that means that we place family very, very high in importance. And that is basically the basis for almost everything that we do as a family, is being with our family and really making sure that we're connecting with other people. And so the reason that I recommend that people have a set of family values is that changes the conversation from being about technology to being about your values and who you want to become as a family and what you stand for and what you believe in. So in other words, the conversation could go something like this when you do have family values. If your son is, let's say, 15 years old and he's at the dinner table and he's on his cell phone, you could say, hey, Tyler, I see that you're on your phone right now. And, I feel like you're not living up to our family value of family being the fabric of our lives. And I really would appreciate if you would reconsider being on your cell phone, because I feel like you're not living in accordance with what we agreed as a family is really important to us. And notice you're not necessarily saying like, please put down the technology, it's bad, but you're saying, hey, these are the people that we want to be and become, and you're not living in accordance with that. And that's something we've all agreed on. Can you reconsider what you're doing? I think it totally changes the conversation.
So building a set of family values that you all agree on and you can refer to, instead of just saying, get that darn iPad out of here. I don't want to see it. It's terrible. It's ruining your brain, which is usually how it goes.
Exactly.
Okay, so another question for you, and you helped me a lot. We've known each other for quite a while. Before the governor's race, you helped me figure out how to manage technology in my life and really wean me off of the phone or set boundaries around my technology. And so with our kids over the summer, there's so many different options to get like screen time, right? There's TV, there's the movie theater, there's your iPad, your iPhone, your iPad, there's Roblox, there's Fortnite, there's just hundreds of ways that they can get screen time. And so trying to figure out how to manage all of it. And then they go over to a friend's house and all of a sudden they stay up all night, and you don't know it. It doesn't show up on your screen time report on your Apple phone because that stinks. It doesn't manage anything. How do you track all of this? How do you get your arms around all the different things that they're doing?
Oh yeah, that's a tough question, Heidi. And I mean, I think the answer is you really can't, or at least you can't get a complete picture, but that's okay. You don't need to necessarily track everything to know that your kids are, we'll just say behaving responsibly or living responsibly. But I do think it is important to try to track what you can. And generally that's what your child does on their cell phone or what they do on the iPads that your family owns. And you can just use that as a baseline. And of course, you just have to use common sense. Like, hey, if the kid's screen time is down on their phone, but 5 days a week, they're going to their friend's house for 4 hours a night. Like, what do you think they're doing there? They're probably on the screens over there. So, you do have to use a little common sense, but I really think that, trying to set clear boundaries, and I like the word that you used was boundaries or guidelines, and saying, hey, we believe as a family that, 4 hours a day of screen time on the phones is appropriate, or whatever the number is for you. I think that just having that written down and having that clearly defined for the family is really important, because then kids will know, hey, when I go and spend 6 hours per day on my cell phone and the family limit is 4, I'm not in accordance again with our family values, what we want as a family.
Yeah, that's good. And one of the things we put in our challenge this week, our parents challenge or our summer challenge, our Unleashed summer challenge for families, is to try and get to 2 hours a day. And so we're looking at the screens last night. I'm talking through it with my kids and they're like, what? That's like ridiculous. That's no time at all. And I'm thinking, in the scheme of things, that's a lot of time for your little brain to handle. But trying to go from, 5 or 6 hours a day to 2, it's almost like, I mean, even today, they're like in withdrawal. Like, what do you mean? Why? And I said, well, you can save your time for later, or you can use it now. But is it an actual physical response that they're feeling, like a chemical response?
Oh, absolutely. So all this research shows that it really takes about a week of time to substantially change from a lot of screen time to very little screen time. And so that's the good news, right? Is, generally, for instance, if you're addicted to other substances like drugs or alcohol, it could take you months or sometimes even years to not be in withdrawal. And so that, a week adjustment for less screen time is really not that difficult. But one of the other things I was also going to mention is, just like any habit, if you get rid of a habit, you need to replace it with something else, something that's positive. And so I do think that, for instance, if your kids are spending 6 hours a day on the phones and you're trying to get down to 2, there's 4 hours a day that they have, which is now free, which is a great thing. But then I do think it's, somewhat of your responsibility as a parent to try to figure out, okay, what are at least some things that we could do during those 4 hours as a family that would be meaningful and that we would all enjoy, to replace that screen time. And yes, that will take some effort, and it may actually be, cost some money, or it may, take some time for you to plan that. But I really think that that's what's necessary in order to make a reduction in screen time successful as a family.
Yeah, and it's hard work. Like you have to be intentional about it. We sat down last night and created a list of all the things that you can do, not screen related. And they're sitting there like, and I'm like, have you ever heard of kick the can? Or like, I don't know. I was thinking like old school. You know those bikes you have in the cul-de-sac? What about that?
Yes.
But it's a real mind shift. So I empathize with all you parents and grandparents and caregivers out there. This is not going to be easy. No one said it's going to be easy, right, Rob?
It's not easy, right? But I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people shy away from it is, I'm sure, easier to just let your kids use their phones for 6 hours a day and let them do whatever. But, maybe that's not the best thing for them.
And
Obviously
that's
you
where
have
I
to
want to go
decide.
next. Tell us what it does to the kids, what the research shows it does to, or us as humans, and what the benefits are to getting off of there, if you can.
Oh, well, I mean, we could literally talk about that, the answer to that question, for literally hours. But basically, I truly believe that what is happening to virtually all humans in today's world is that we are becoming more stressed out, more anxious, and more depressed, among many other things, because of our technology use. And so I think if for the average person, if they are and I love that you use the word intentional, if they're intentional about their technology use, and again, they just find a little bit better balance, then they will be less stressed, they will be less anxious, they will be more calm and at peace, and they can truly be happier. These researchers did a study about a group of people giving up Facebook for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And what they found out once the volunteers gave up Facebook for 1 month is that the increase in happiness that those people experienced was equivalent to a $30,000 annual increase in pay.
What?
Yes,
Wow.
that's an incredible pay increase for anybody, right? And
Yes.
so think about how happy you would be because you got an extra $30,000 a year. That's how much happiness Facebook costs you essentially when you use it.
Oh my goodness, that's wild. And I remember a long time ago, we talked about what the average time people are on screens a day and the dramatic increase in joy and happiness that people feel, and the connectedness. Because I remember you telling me that the more you're online, the less connected you feel and the more you want to feel connected. So it's this vicious circle. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. So here's kind of what happens, right? And again, this is a huge generalization, but it just, once you understand this framework, a lot of things make sense. So we can think of a lot of, not all, but a lot of the things that we do on technology as sort of a coping mechanism, right? So as an example, let's say I'm waiting in line at Chipotle and I'm bored, right? I mean, this happens to everyone. You're bored. So what do? You pull out your phone. Okay, like that's fine. So you look at your phone and you are on social media and you're entertained now. Great. Well, now the next time that you're bored, even if you're not at Chipotle, you've built this association that, oh, like when I'm bored, I go on social media. And so you start filling all the boring moments in your life and a time when to use social media. Well, eventually you take up so much time, on social media that it replaces the time that you're with friends and family. It replaces the time that you are doing stuff in person with other people. And the number one thing that determines our happiness in our entire life and for humanity as a whole is the quality of our relationships with other people. It's the quality of those in-person relationships that really brings us the most love and joy and happiness in our lives. And generally, when you're on technology, it's an independent, it's an alone event. You're not generally looking at your cell phone with another person. It's generally by yourself. And so you're just increasing the loneliness and the disconnectedness that you experience the more you use technology. And so the more that you can realize that, hey, maybe using technology, is replacing those meaningful relationships in my life. And you have to determine if you're okay with that or not. But for me, I really value in-person relationships and connecting with people. And I want to do that much more than I want to be on technology. That's just my decision.
Yeah, I think we'd have to make a conscious decision about that. And it's, we're all free to choose if we want to be on the screens more or less. But I think our kids, I don't know if they're capable of making those decisions sometimes. And so it puts it back on us parents to get back to setting boundaries and being intentional and making sure that we're doing the right things for their health. Because if you told parents that an activity that your kids were doing would increase their mental health issues, could potentially lead to a higher potential of teen suicide or drug use, like all of us would be like, oh my gosh, tell me what to do. Like, we're going to stop it right now. And yet we're almost like frogs in boiling water. We've just let it keep going and going and going and getting more and more out of control. So what's the best way to ease our kids off of technology?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say, if you could start by getting a baseline of where they are. So, and what I mean by that is, either iOS for iPhone or Androids, they both have ways to measure screen time. And so I think that by enabling that and seeing where your kids are starting is the place you have to really start, because if you don't know what your baseline is, you don't know how much time you can reduce from there, or how much there is to be gained. But regardless of whatever the baseline is, let's say, for instance, your kids are spending 4 hours a day on social media. I think having a realistic goal that's smaller, but not a ton smaller each week, and then slowly decreasing that is realistic. So for instance, if they're starting at 4 hours, maybe next week it's 3.5. Maybe the week after that it's 3, and you go down by half an hour until you're at whatever your desired goal is. Maybe it's, for instance, 1 hour a day or something. Mm-hmm. That to me is a little bit more manageable than trying to go from 4 hours a day to 1 hour a day. Now,
keeping them busy, right? And filling it up with other activities and things that are not screen related.
Right. Now, and then you could also do something else. And I prefer this method, but I think it's a little bit more challenging, is you could give your kids a challenge and say, hey, let's delete social media for a month and see what happens. Now, I actually worked with an elementary school, and they were going to do a month free of social media for the whole district. And I just think I think it's almost in a way easier in that there's no gray area, right? You're either using it or you're not. And generally you shouldn't be using it. If you've gotten rid of it, you should delete it from your phone. But the point is that by doing it for a month, the results are so drastic and they're so apparent after just a week or two, it's hard not to deny that that social media affected you, which to me, that's the real thing that you want kids to see is, what is this doing to you? And even if because it's subconscious, right? The kids don't realize or have consciousness that this is happening to them. But when you ask them to delete it for a month and they do it, it becomes really obvious very quickly how it was affecting them. It's hard to ignore.
That's a great point. A really good point. And maybe some people will be brave enough to take on that challenge. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm working on it. Rob, you're about to have a baby, and you're going to get the pull, almost immediately, like to have the screen on while you're trying to do the dishes, or to give them an iPad at a restaurant. Maybe you won't, but the typical parent would. For new parents or parents just having children, how do you create an environment from day one in your family that's accepting of technology, because it's going to be around your kids, but doesn't make you seem like the bad parent that won't let anybody, go near your kids that has technology? You know what I mean? Like that dichotomy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just having a very deliberate conversation with your spouse, and really also structuring your household in a way that's conducive to the technology use that you want. So for instance, my wife and I are moving to a house that we're renting, and it's a lot bigger than our apartment. And so we were discussing how we'd set it up, and we said, well, we do have a TV, which I actually don't want a TV, but she wants a TV. And so we're going to put that in the room that is not with our kids' toys. So because I don't even want the kid to see the TV off, like, believe it or not, I don't want that. And then we also discussed that we agreed that we just think that it's best for our kids if we don't have any screen time at all, even TV, before the age of 3. Now, I get that I might change my tune once our baby's really born and life is hectic. I don't know. But I mean, at least now it's our intention that we would not have our kid use any TV at all before the age of 3, for a lot of different reasons, and a lot of data that I believe shows that that's the optimal amount of screen time at that age. So it really is just being intentional about setting everything up in your house to be conducive to what you want, and then coming up with an agreement with your spouse and then sticking to it.
That's great. That's great advice. To kind of wrap things up, I know you have a history and a lot of experience in fitness. And one of the issues that we saw through COVID was obesity. Childhood obesity increased dramatically. What are some tips around that to encouraging our kids to get outside and play and be intentional about exercise and eating right? How do you tackle that in a few minutes?
Yeah, well, I own 3 health clubs in 3 different states and, helped thousands of people with their health and fitness. And one of the things that we would always say in the clubs is you can't outrun a poor diet. So I could give you the most amazing workout plan ever, but if you're eating, if you're drinking Kool-Aid and eating Snickers bars for every meal, it's going to be super hard for you to lose weight, whether you're a kid or an adult. And so I do think, of course, there's, many components to obesity, but I do think the 2 main ones are nutrition and then exercise. And I think nutrition is more important, to be honest. I would say roughly 80% of whether someone is an appropriate weight or not is what they eat. And another interesting statistic is the person who does the grocery shopping in the house determines about 80% of what the family eats as a whole.
Wow.
So what that means is person who does the grocery shopping, it's usually the mother, but it doesn't have to be, of course. That means that it really rests on you to make good choices for the family and for you to be on board with, what the game plan is for the family in terms of what you want in the house and how you want to prepare your meals. Another rule that my wife and I generally follow is I'm not saying we don't eat sweets or desserts or things like that, but what we do is we generally don't have them in the house and we reserve them for when we're out of the house. So we'll, for instance, get a shake at the burger stand, but we won't have a shake at the house because then it's a lot harder to eat a shake or have a shake. And so that's a very conscious decision that we've made. And again, I'm not saying we never, ever have sweet things in the house, but very rarely. And we just really reserve those desserts for times when it's special or when we're eating out.
So it sounds like being very mindful when you're grocery shopping, whoever that is, and only having, trying to only have things in the house that are healthy and productive, and then saving treats for outside the house. And that 80% of the battle is nutrition versus exercise, but exercise certainly probably helps.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. Great summary. Mm-hmm.
Well, Rob, it's been such a delight having you on. I know my audience is going to love this part of the podcast. Can you tell them how to get in touch with you or how to follow you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the name of my company is Humans First, and you can check out my website. It's humansfirst.us. And what I'd love to do is offer any of your listeners a free 30-minute technology mindfulness consultation for me to help you and or your family with your technology use and technology balance. If you want to take me up on that, all you need to do is email me and then we can set something up. My email address is rob, R-O-B, @humansfirst.us. Just email me and I'd love to connect with you.
That's fantastic. I think you might be afraid that what you asked for. Rob, I know you're doing a lot of work around shorter work weeks, more productive work weeks. What if you have a company or you work for a company where that might be interesting to talk to you about?
Yeah, absolutely. I also do consulting to help companies transition to a 4-day work week. So you can also email me about that as well. And I'm happy to chat with you about that too.
Very exciting stuff. Thank you, Rob, for all the work you're doing and your passion around keeping us healthier and having a better balance with technology in our life. We'll hopefully have you on again soon, maybe at the end of the summer, to see how we did with the Unleash Summer Challenge in our families, in our community.
I love that. Well, that really resonates with me. And I really hope that the people listening consider doing that for their family and for their community, because when you do things together, it really is contagious. And I really believe that having more connection and being outside more and being more active is something that we could all, benefit from.